Welcome to Popternative, where we dive into topical discussions from the worlds of pop culture, social media, and sports. Here is your host, Peter Remoliotis, aka PD Beats.
Hello and welcome to Popternative. This is the podcast and talk show where we have digital discussions, the worlds of TV, film, news, pop culture, social media, everything really depending on the guest. We talk about it all. As always, I'm your host, Permiotis. On social media, you know me as PD Beats. And you will soon recognize my guest from a show which will be premiering April 11th on HBO Max called The Nevers. Amy Manson is with us. Amy, welcome to Popternative.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. I mean, right off the bat, I'm just curious. Compared to other things you've worked on, like Torchwood and Being Human, how does this compare, this show, experience-wise, like, in terms of how this looks? Like, this is a Victorian set thing with, magical powers. Like, it's insane. It's insane. There's so much going on.
Even I don't know what's going on. I'm just, where am I? Who am I? What is this show? What is this? It really is like just an amalgamation of so many genres. And 1 minute I'm in fantasy land, the next minute it's dark humor, the next minute it's steampunk. A lot of us are like, really don't know, but what we do know is that it looks beautiful. Seamus McGarvey, the cinematographer, has done an amazing job. The characters are phenomenal. I think it is officially the best scripts that I've ever read in my life as an artist. Let alone Melody, my character, being probably the best that I've ever had the pleasure of breathing, I guess. And the experience was awesome.
Absolutely. It's interesting that you mentioned that there's a lot kind of going on, because that's what I love about content these days. I love that genres are being bended and being diminished. Like, there's a lot kind of going on. Is it safe to say that's kind of like the ideal project that people want to work on, the storytellers like yourself want to work on, so they can experiment and do a lot of different things?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a great question. Because it does feel like I'm being transported through time almost. It's just like, wait, okay, right, and this and that, and and also it being set in Victorian England, it's got its own constraints, and and what you can get away with as a living human in Victorian England, let alone these wonderful characters who become touched, who ended up having mild kind of superpowers. That's a whole other minefield and a whole other ball game.
Well, a whole nother ball game. This is going to be you all have powers, and it's in the Victorian days, so it's gonna I don't think people have like like that's a popular genre on its own. People love that era and everything, and now you're gonna throw in all the superpowers and everything. It's gonna be like
It really is. And I had the pleasure of watching the first 3 episodes the other day, and my mind literally, but even when I was watching it, it was like, it snowballs and it snowballs, and I'm like, oh my God, I forgot about this and I forgot about that. And it's just so many tangents for all of us, all characters. It's just, they end up somewhere that you would never even imagine. And that's what's going to be beautiful for an audience, because you're going to think you're on this road, but it's going to hit another trajectory.
But it's interesting too, because you look at a lot of shows in the geek culture, nerd culture, and everything, and that is just a genre that has exploded. Like, people love that stuff. It's cool to be a geek. It's cool to be a nerd.
Yeah.
The Nevers has that kind of component, with the component of the like it's about these amazing kick butt Victorian women, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the best, like it's like two worlds colliding. What do you think about that dynamic of the two, like, colliding basically?
Yeah, I think, well, I mean, it's about time. I don't think there is anything that exists on TV, like you say, like this. And it was, I mean, Joss set everything up. It wasn't like an experiment like other shows that I've done, or genres of shows. It was, the gift of this was that we were all starting from base, from, just like this base level of just culminating and putting experiences together. And it turned into this beautiful project with beautiful humans involved.
Absolutely. No, for sure.
And it keeps us on our toes, for sure.
Absolutely. You have, like I said at the beginning, you have had the opportunity to work on some really cool shows in the past. You've also worked on some movies as well. I believe one of the movies you worked on was Doom Annihilation.
Yes.
And I'm a huge horror movie fan. I love horror movies, right? Doom is kind of one of those the Doom movies and the Doom video games kind of have a lot going on. It's not just horror, but have you noticed how incredible the horror genre has become in the last 5 years, Amy? It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fans with Doom, I don't think they were very happy with me coming on as kind of the female version of Doomslayer, but that's out with my hands. That was always written into the script. Um, and I mean, I grew up with Donkey Kong and Mario Kart.
Yep.
So for me to start playing these games to get in the role, it was actually I enjoyed it, you know? I mean, how old is that franchise now? And yeah, the director just wanted to resurrect it
Yeah.
for his pleasure.
It's funny because, you know, I'm born in 1991, so I'm turning 30 pretty soon, and I feel like I kind of hit a wall when I was like 25, where my idea of like a good time, wasn't going out on the town and having some drinks and going dancing. My good time was staying home and like playing video games and watching horror movies and like going to someone's house. You know what I mean? Like that's like the new party. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Well, have you seen there's a horror movie called with Rob Savage, the director, called Host.
I've interviewed the whole cast of Host on my show.
Have? Okay, yeah.
And Gemma Moore was also in Doom Annihilation, wasn't she?
Yes.
Yeah.
I spoke to her the other day. Yeah. She's ace.
Yeah, awesome.
She's
Yeah,
good.
no, it's crazy, but that's literally like Host is. People say like that movie was very scary, and it was one of the scariest movies I've ever seen. But the importance of that movie is huge because that was like the first like COVID movie, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I still don't know the workings, or she won't tell me anything. So
I don't know how they got some of those shots. I have no idea.
I know.
I don't. It blows my mind.
Yeah. So he didn't tell you, did he?
No one told me. And it's funny, I interviewed Jason Isaacs on the show. He loves Host. And he was like,
yes.
I think they're being kind of a bit degenerate in terms of like how they got the shots and everything. But like, no, they stand behind. I talked to a lot of the cast members. They stand behind. They did it all themselves. But some of those shots are insane.
They're so. Have you seen any of his short films?
I have not. I've heard very good things though.
Oh, they're phenomenal. Honestly, it was. I went into Host with not with a lot of expectations because I'd seen those, and I was like, if Host is anything like those, this is just going to blow people's minds. Dawn of the Deaf, actually, that's one, and The Salt. They're two great ones.
We'll get back to Nevers, but I do need to ask.
Oh,
sorry. Are you a fan a little bit of the like before? No. I still have a horror movie question because we've been talking about it a lot. But like, are you still a fan? Like, are you a fan of the genre?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I mean, so I want to know something because this is interesting because people have asked me like what my favorite horror movie is, and I can't answer that for some reason because there's a lot, right? But I can answer what's the scariest movie I've ever seen. So I'm wondering, do you have that like your favorite horror movie or like the scariest movie you've ever seen? Because they're both different. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think I had a friend in The Witch. I remember that blowing my mind when it was out at that time. It's the unknown it's that trepidation of like wait, it's like the whole Jaws franchise. It's not seeing Jaws or the first Jaws, not seeing them. Obviously makes you're that suspension of disbelief kind of heightened. So I guess it's that. And actually Host really did. It takes a lot to scare me though. So I'm always like, okay, wait.
Well, have you seen I always, because when people ask me my favorite, I don't know what to say because I have like 12 that I just love, right? And some of them I can't be. But the scariest movie I've ever seen is The Strangers, the original one with Liv Tyler and Scott Speedman. That is like the scariest movie I've ever seen.
Oh, right. Can I write that down?
Yes, but it's very scary.
Okay.
Because it's realistic. It's realistic.
Okay, yes.
Those are the ones that will get you. In terms of this show with the Nevers is going to feature a lot of incredible women that are like have powers, going for all this stuff. Growth and arc of characters is very important. Talk a little bit about the growth of these characters we're going to kind of expect in the Nevers, Amy.
Well, I think that's the beauty of this show because they're figuring out themselves. The question, they're ostracized from society. So they end up, creating this kind of this band of sisters, together. They unify, and that's the force. But still, within the first half of the season, which will air from the 11th of April, still in that first half of the season, they're figuring out who they are and how they fit in.
Yep.
And it's only certain you'll find out during this series. It's only certain women and a few men, certain walks of life that are kind of infiltrated with whatever you find out the turns, the touch, what
Yeah.
try not to divulge too much, but yeah. So then you figure it out with them on their journey, but then you find out that there's different factions of that too, and how they coexist together and what they're both fighting for. Yeah, that's the first half of the season.
Absolutely.
With 1,000 other storylines and other characters going on.
Oh, for sure. There's going to be, I have no
around
doubt.
them.
It's one of those things, the trailer got revealed, and it just, like, you watch the trailer, you're like, there's going to be so much going on in this, and I can't wait because there's so much going on. And that's tough too, right? You put a trailer off for the show, and it's like, what do you put in? What don't you put in, right? I
That's
feel
it.
like the art of a trailer is something people don't talk about a lot as well.
True. I know they're going to come out with an official trailer, but even watching that one, I mean, the whole objective is to show something, but people to query exactly what we're doing, to go kind of, wait, what's going on here? Because it does feel like there's just different realms and different, it's a bit like, I know we've got a lot of the HODs, the heads of department that have come straight from Game of Thrones.
Yep.
I'm saying that because it's almost like, I mean, the show is nothing like Game of Thrones, but it's almost, these characters existing, coexisting, but not having scenes together, or not being in each other's worlds within Victorian England.
Absolutely. No, for sure. That still blows my mind. It's going to be Victoria. It's going to be a superhero or like powers in the Victorian days. That's going to it still blows my mind a little bit.
Yeah. And even watching it the other day as it unraveled, I really was like, I forgot about this and I forgot about
Because
that.
I don't know if you saw, there was like a Pride and Prejudice zombie movie.
Yes.
You see, you know what I mean? So like that's the same thing. I
Yeah.
remember when I saw that, I was just like, this is
great. Yeah.
Which is, I do want to know before we wrap up quickly. I mean, you are from Scotland. I'm just curious to know, what's the entertainment kind of scene like in Scotland? Hasn't it grown a little bit too? Like, and is there a certain thing that Scotland is kind of known for lately? Like whether it's music or TV or film. Like what's the scene like in Scotland, Amy?
Well, Outlander's just taken over, haven't they?
Well, of course. Well, that goes without saying.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, it tends to be, I think, kind of like the funky areas, Glasgow, in Scotland. It's got its own identity. It's almost like London, where it exists. It could exist on its own, but I mean, I'm spending a lot of time in the Highlands and up in the mountains. But there's a lot of skiing that goes on, a lot of hiking, a lot of boating. It's definitely a location to go to if you haven't been.
Well, I just interviewed a band from Scotland recently too, so that's why I kind of asked about what they're seeing. I interviewed John Fratelli from the Fratellis.
Oh right! Oh great!
And they are from
Is
Scotland.
he watched Host?
Pardon me?
Is he watched Host?
What? I don't know. I feel like I'm wondering. I want to know, because I was talking to a few of them, because I know a few of them personally. I want to know how many people actually watched it, because I referred so many people to that movie, and so many people watched it after I told them about it, and they had no idea about it. So I feel like the word of mouth for that movie was just insane.
Yeah, absolutely, but I'm surprised that on your list, or I'm surprised that we haven't talked about my first horror movie, Pumpkinhead 4. Have you seen that one?
I have not.
That is going to go in your top 12.
Pumpkinhead. So I interviewed also Kayla Compton, who's in Allegra Garcia's on the Flash right now. She was in a movie called The Attack of the Killer Donuts. She says that's going to be in my top 3.
That's your top. I've got a better one. There was another one I did. What was it? It's in Thailand. Blood Monkey.
Blood Monkey? Okay.
Oh,
I'm just going to have to Amy Manson marathon. Do Annihilation and just Pumpkinhead 4, Blood Monkey. Let's go.
God. Oh, God.
Amy, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really had fun with you.
You too. Thanks, bud.
Yeah,
I'll
absolutely.
speak soon.
Yeah, absolutely. So, April 11th on HBO Max, The Nevers,
Yep.
which is awesome. They're gonna be able to check that out. Where can people follow you on social media to keep up to date with everything?
I tend to be on Instagram a bit more. Amy Manson London.
Amazing. Well,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Well, this has been Popternative, youtube.com/Popternative for previous episodes. Be sure to check out The Nevers, April 11th on HBO Max, starring Amy Manson. Until next time, this is Amy Manson and PD Beats signing off.
Thank you for tuning in to Popternative. Make sure to check out our past episodes of Popternative on YouTube. Be sure to like Popternative on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
This has been an Autograph Communications production.